Hey, brother, how's it going? Can I talk to you about something really important?
Doesn't look like you have much of a choice, but I'll remind you.
Well, I wanted to let you know that the Earth has been proven to be a stationary plane.
Not true. That's impossible.
Actually, this makes you impossible because your series says that you live in a galaxy far, far away. Since there's no such thing as galaxies at all, in terms of supermassive black holes centralizing hosts of solar systems, such things do not exist, but in theory.
Not true. That's impossible.
No, really, it's true. I mean, do you even want to see the proof?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway, as it's really important. High altitude balloon footage proves that NASA was lying and there's no curvature to the Earth. Even from over 100,000 feet, you can't detect or measure for the necessary inverse square curvature to result in an overall sphere with a radius of about 4,000 miles as purported in the heliocentric model.
Not true. That's impossible.
Yes, really, it's true. We don't even need to go into a weather balloon to prove there's no curvature to the Earth. If you're, say, looking across Lake Michigan from Grandmere State Park, you can clearly see the Chicago skyline from over 55 miles away. According to the curvature calculations, the base of those buildings should be over a quarter mile below the horizon. I'm not sure how that translates into parsecs. Of course, we can see the entire skyline, proving that standing water stretched across nearly 60 miles is almost perfectly level, not curved around a hump whatsoever, meaning the Earth is a plane as opposed to a sphere.
Not true. That's impossible.
I'm telling you, Luke, you really should look at the evidence I'm pointing to here. Atmospheric refraction doesn't account for this apparent lack of sphericity to the Earth.
Not true. That's impossible.
Luke, you really are a little bitch. You know, we don't even need to look at curvature since you refuse to consider geometry. Perhaps they didn't teach geometry to Jedis, or maybe your entire galaxy didn't produce one single person as quote unquote smart as Pythagoras. Anyway, I'm sure that even though you lack geometry in the Star Wars universe, you must certainly have a knowledge of physics. Not the theoretical psychobabble theoretical physics. I'm talking about actual real physics, you know, the study of bodies in motion. All of the evidence that you can possibly scrutinize proves that the Earth is stationary. It's not spinning, it's not orbiting, it's not flying through space.
Not true. That's impossible.
OMFG, Luke Skywalker, could you please grow a pair and just look at the physical evidence that the plane housing the world doesn't spin or orbit or fly through space at all? You can look at experiments like the Michelson-Morley, Michelson-Gale, the Sagnac experiment, Airy's failure, and they all conclusively prove that the Earth isn't spinning. There's even simple physical tests that we can do to prove that the Earth isn't spinning and is in fact 100% stationary. The whole thing, all of this theoretical physics, is actually the great deception.
It's a trap.
Theoretical physics has gotten it all wrong, starting with the very shape and nature of the Earth.
Not true. That's impossible.
Really, Luke, you're probably the most hard-headed little bitch of a Jedi ever to advance past Padawan. Didn't Master Yoda tell you something like,
Assumption leads to conjecture. Conjecture leads to theory without evidence. Theory without evidence leads to being a globehead on the wrong side of history, and being a globehead on the wrong side of history leads to the dark side.
or something? You really need to consider the fact that no person has ever circumnavigated the Earth meridianally, so like starting in the North Pole, going around the bottom of the South Pole, back up to the North Pole, keeping a constant course. Since you're so bad with geometry, I figured I'd just explain that to you, what that means. Nor has anyone circumnavigated the Antarctic latitudinally, meaning going around the, 75, say, degrees south latitude.
Not true. That's impossible.
Yes, Luke, yes. There's even more. The North Pole star Polaris has been fixed above the central polar axis for all of recorded history. According to the heliocentric model, especially considering axial precession, which causes the precession of the equinoxes allegedly, we should see the polar axis advance through space along its cycle 1 degree every 70 years. That means we should have a series of north stars throughout history, but that simply isn't the case. This proves conclusively that the heliocentric model is completely 100% wrong, actually.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Wow, you really are a terrible listener. I mean, for a Jedi, I don't see how you ever made it. I thought you were supposed to have an open mind, but is there any physical evidence that you can think of that proves the Earth is spinning and flying through space and does have curvature? Can you point to anything?
No.
Or is there any physical evidence that would simply convince you to consider the hypothesis that galaxies don't exist? So Star Wars is not science fiction, but instead it's liance fiction.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Ugh, whatever, Luke. I really wanted to help you, but it seems like you really just want to live stuck to the side of a giant ball for some reason and have the theoretical ability to one day travel to other planets. The fact is, quote unquote, other planets don't exist. The wandering stars are merely lights in the night sky. Nobody's ever going to them. And the Earth is the only physical plane of its sort in the known universe.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Well, listen, Luke, it's not that bad. Since we really don't know what's beyond the southernmost past of the sun during the winter solstice, it's possible there could be other worlds housed upon the very same physical plane which our world is nestled in. This means we can still have science fiction involving potential extraterrestrial life forms. However, in the flat Earth model, which happens to be true and correct and demonstrable, such things are theoretically possible, being extraterrestrials. In the heliocentric model, lightspeed travel is a myth and will simply never happen. Therefore, traveling to other solar systems or other galaxies is theoretical folly, according to your model. But we could pretend, in reality, that your world exists somewhere far, far away, just not in another galaxy, just somewhere along the physical plane with its own geothermal solar system, if you will.
It's not true. That's impossible.
Egad, Luke. What's a Misa saying? Hopefully, one day you'll look at the evidence and consider this as an adult as opposed to an ignorant, bratty 12-year-old girl. Man up. Flat Earth. Peace.